Welcome to Guns 101, our video welcome message for brand new gun owners. It's brought to you by the Self Defense Radio Network. I'm Rob Morse from Self Defense Gun Stories. My partners tonight are Amanda Suffolk. She's from Eye on the Target Radio. The guy behind the scenes, behind the curtain over there doing the heavy tech lifting, that's Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. We have Melody Lauer with us from Citizens Defense Research. You've done a lot. You're a great trainer. I've seen some of your classes. Melody, millions of people brought this box home. We didn't get a chance to get them in the classes. How do we make sure they're going to stay safe with that firearm at home?
Well, I think one of the first things that we are, I'm sure, doing across the board is talking to people about the 4 rules of gun safety and safe handling. I think that's always going to be number one as far as making sure that they're safe enough to handle a firearm without putting themselves or anyone else at risk. That would be, kind of the base level, hey, this is how you don't hurt yourself or hurt other people. One of the things I think that we as a community do a really rather poor job of, however, is ensuring that people are prepared to store their firearms before they even purchase a firearm. A lot of times people go out and they buy that gun and no one asks them, do you have kids at home? Do you have a means to lock this up at home? Do you live with a roommate who's, maybe not as responsible as you are? Do you have a way to keep this firearm inaccessible to people who are not authorized to have it? So making sure that they have the means of safe storage and then the proper mindset that says, hey, this is not like even your stove that you can just leave and people understand, hey, we don't touch the hot stove. This is something that does require at least some training and some understanding. It's not like TV and it's not like the movies. We do need to have a place where we can store it and secure it and keep it locked up, particularly from curious minds, young children especially. And if you don't have that in your life already, let's talk about how we can get that in addition to the gun, or even before you get the gun, before you even purchase it. A lot of times, someone will walk out of the store with a gun in their hand without ever being asked if they have a means to safely store it.
And in some sense, that is an incomplete sale. As you point out, ideally, that's waiting for them and their gun when they get home. Okay,
yes.
Maybe they're caught unawares. It was a hurried buy. There was limited options. They were saying, if you're done, there are people behind you. How could someone find safe storage from the internet and get it delivered to their doorstep?
It's actually really easy these days. Amazon is one of the best, quickest ways to get yourself some really affordable options. Claude Warner also did a really interesting article on safe storage options for like under $20 or something like that, and came up with just ingenious methods for if you are on an extremely shoestring budget, you can do even something as simple as a toolbox with a padlock. And there you have at least something that usually most people have some form of a toolbox with some form of a locking device. And most of the gun boxes that are sold these days, not all of them, but most of them have some sort of a hard, rigid plastic and a place for a padlock to go through it. So you can even take the own box that you have and incorporate it into some form of a locking box if you have nothing else.
And that makes so much sense. I have to tell you a story. My dad, when there was a new baby being born in the family, and especially like the first baby, to anybody in the family that, well, we're a family that has guns, my father, for the new baby shower gift, would always give the new mother and father a gun safe, so that
that's really
no matter how they stored. They now have a new baby. They have to think about this, and so he gave them a new small for their staged gun, and I always thought that was a fabulous idea. Yeah,
I
So
think that
it's
should be
welcome
like
to the
gun baby registry 101.
yeah. I mean, because it is welcome your new bundle of joy, and here I'm going to help you protect it.
And that's such an important thing. I remember bringing my oldest home from the hospital, and ironically, my husband and I had just we were prepared for a child, but at the same time, we didn't realize how unprepared we were when it came to guns. We came home from the hospital, and he's in his baby carrier, and I looked, and we had probably 6 long guns just laying on our kitchen table. And I remember looking around the apartment and going, oh my goodness, we are not prepared. I mean, granted, we had some time because, he was just a little blob that spit up and
Right.
pooped and peed, so we had a little bit of time to get that. And we did have like a large safe and stuff like that, but we didn't have things like quick access safes to quickly store our handguns, our carry guns in. And I realized very quickly how inadequate we were as far as those preparations. And now being kind of known for doing the parent thing, it's one of my top list items that I ask people, particularly if they are parents. Okay, do you have, so especially if it's a carry gun and they want that carry gun to be prepared so that they can grab it in the middle of the night, or they want to put it on in the morning and they don't want to go into the big safe and put the 8-digit combination in and all that stuff. It's like, okay, then do you have an accessible, quick access way to store this carry gun or store this firearm?
Right. I think that it's so critical, and especially right now. I mean, we're looking at there's 5 million new gun owners or new guns that are out in population in the first quarter of 2020. And so in a lot of them, they say like 65% of them went to formerly non-gun owning households. So they need to make sure that they have not only a new gun mentality, but a new gun and children mentality, and a new gun and the neighbor's mentality, and a new gun and my house mentality. It changes everything that you do in how you manage that. So what kind of advice do you have for those people who like say, ta-da, I now have a gun. What do I have to think about for storage?
Well, this kind of reminds me of actually my husband's boss is going through this right now. He just bought his first gun because of all this, and it's been really interesting to watch my husband come home and talk about how excited his boss is about getting this firearm for the first time. And he's asking about things like holsters, and he's asking about things like safe storage, which are all really, really good questions. But one of the things that I think is really interesting for everyone, when we buy the new cool thing, we want to show it off to our friends, right? We want to invite the neighbor over. Now we're in the middle of a quarantine thing. We can't really invite people over, but there is still that, hey, look at what I have. And we need very careful about advertising to the world what we got. We all have people that we know who are unsavory, that we don't necessarily want to know where we keep the gun and where we keep the bullets, and where our safe is, what brand of safe it is, so that they can Google it and figure out how to open it or something like that. So I think being very cautious of who you share information with. Obviously, there's those of us who this is what we do for a living, so we kind of are a little bit more of an open book, but that's not necessarily the advice that I would give to just anybody. Be careful about, if your boss finds out that you're now a new gun owner, is there going to cause some consternation in the office? Is there going to be a family kind of conflict if people find out that you bought a gun? So being kind of careful about how you talk about it, who you talk about it with, how you just decide to store it. Are you going to store it in your bedroom? Are you going to store it? Are you going to store it in the kitchen? Are you going to store it? Where are you going to store it, and why? Does it make sense to store something in a basement when you can't get to it quickly? Things like that. Just thinking through all of your decisions very carefully before you just kind of land on one and go, yeah, I'm going with that.
Well, that makes so much sense. So, folks, we're going to wrap up this section because storage she covers so many points in safe storage. We've had a lot of videos, and none of them have hit the points that we've hit in this one. So it makes it so unique and so interesting. So Melody Lauer from Citizens Defense Research, and you can find her, you can find information, and you can find the things that they do on Facebook. So look up Citizens Defense Research on Facebook, and we'll be back for another session.